Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Sneha and welcome back to Perio Hub. So today it's time for another Perio query wherein we'll try and answer one of your doubts. So stay tuned and let's get started. So today's query was put up by Preeti and she wrote that can you please explain what are emergency cases in periodontics and why are we calling abscesses as emergency cases in. So two parts of the question. First is emergency cases in periodontics, which itself is a very wide topic. So we'll briefly discuss the few important cases that come to the clinic on a routine basis. And in the second part, she's asking why abscesses are termed as emergency cases, which I will be answering right away. So what exactly are dental emergencies? So emergencies which require treatment to stop bleeding, treatment to alleviate severe pain and swelling, and treatments which are required to save a teeth falls under dental emergencies. Now in a similar case, if the bleeding is associated with the periodontium, for example acute gingival bleeding, if there is pain and swelling associated with the gums, and if there is a mobile tooth and the periodontal therapy can help save that teeth, then such emergencies fall under periodontal emergencies. Now in case of abscesses, any acute abscess will cause severe pain, there is swelling of the gums, and in certain cases it causes underlying tooth mobility and the tooth becomes tender on percussion, and that's the reason abscesses fall under dental emergency category. So I hope the second part of the question is quite clear for everyone, and if there is any doubts then the comment section below is open for discussion. So now let's understand the various periodontal emergencies which can be categorized into three major headings. So first we have the abscesses, then we have ulcerations, and then we have the miscellaneous category. So under abscesses today we are going to talk about the four major categories. So we have the gingival abscess, the periodontal abscess, the abscesses associated with endodontic and periodontal conditions, and the pericoronal abscess. So first let's talk about the gingival abscess. So gingival abscess is a localized purulent swelling which can either be associated with the interdental papilla or with the marginal gingiva. So coming on to the clinical features, the abscess is localized but it can expand and it is quite painful as it is acute in nature. Now the major cause of the gingival abscess is the impaction of foreign objects. Now in certain cases while brushing or while using certain interdental aids, those substances can also get embedded into the gums. So that is the reason gingival abscess is also called as the oral hygiene abscess. Now the management is quite simple. For any abscess we start off with incision and drainage followed by irrigation with either plain saline or certain antimicrobial agents. Now with that the patient is good to go, but if there is certain pain we can always prescribe analgesics for the same. Now coming on to the next abscess, which is the periodontal abscess. So periodontal abscess is just the accumulation of the pus within the gingival wall of the periodontal pocket. So for a periodontal abscess there has to be presence of a probing pocket with underlying bone loss. So for example, if we see this first x-ray, there is bone loss, there is a probing pocket, there is furcation involvement. So all the signs of periodontitis is seen. So any abscess associated with this is termed as a periodontal abscess. Now on the other hand, if we see the second x-ray, here there are no signs of any periodontal destruction. So if the abscess is associated with such a x-ray, then it is termed as a gingival abscess. So coming on to the clinical features, the periodontal abscess can again be localized or it can be diffused to two or more teeth. There will be a presence of a periodontal pocket as mentioned before, and they will be associated bone loss. Now the teeth in case of periodontal pocket can be mobile in certain cases and can be tender on percussion. Coming on to the etiology, so periodontal abscess is nothing but an exacerbation of the already present underlying periodontitis. So complex pocket morphology, furcation defects, vertical defects cause the infection to spread in the underlying periodontium, and this leads to the periodontal pocket. So For management, what we do incision and drainage via the periodontal pocket itself. So insert a curette or insert a scaler and just drain the pus through the periodontal pocket, or we can go with the traditional approach of external incisions as well. And always after incision and drainage, we do irrigation to thoroughly clean and debride that area, and make sure that these patients are then put on long-term follow-ups as well, because essentially they are periodontal patients, so we need to give proper periodontal therapy for overall treatment completion. The third abscess that we'll be talking about are abscesses associated with endoperio lesions. Abscess is associated because of both endodontic component as well as periodontal component. Now coming on to the clinical features, these are localized inflammations either seen associated with the marginal gingiva or in the periapical region of the tooth. So these abscesses are associated with a periodontal pocket along with a non-vital teeth, and as you can see in the periapical area there is certain radiolucencies. So this is a classical endoperio lesion leading to a abscess formation. Coming on to the management, so under the emergency management we do incision and drainage, but again long-term treatment we have to address the endodontic component as well, because the infection present in this periapical area cannot be treated with only periodontal therapy. Then we come to the fourth type of abscess, which is the pericoronal abscess. So the clinical features which are associated is swelling of the angle of the mouth. There will be pain which is radiating towards the ear. There will be difficulty in mouth opening, trismus, and in certain cases it leads to systemic manifestation like fever and lymph node enlargement as well. Now coming on to the etiology, now the operculum of the third molar is an excellent harbor of lot of debris, and as a result it would inflame and there will be swelling. So the ideal treatment will be irrigating this particular area so that the debris are flushed out, and once that is done the operculum in itself will start healing and the inflammation will reduce. Now in the second sitting we can always assess the teeth again and see if it requires certain operculectomy, that is removal of the operculum, or it requires extraction of the teeth itself. So next we move on to the second category, which are ulcerations. Now here we'll be discussing about two major acute ulcerations that we see. First are cases of ANUG or ANUP, that is acute necrotizing ulcerative gingivitis or periodontitis, and second are cases of acute herpetic ulcerations. So this is a classical case of ANUP, wherein it's a periodontal condition with ulcerations. Now what are the clinical features of the ulcers? So ulcers are punched out in nature. They are either associated with the interdental papilla or with the marginal gingiva. Now the second feature is the presence of this pseudomembrane over the necrotic area. So once the pseudomembrane is removed, the connective tissue is exposed, leading to spontaneous bleeding. So coming on to the etiology, now such cases are seen in immunocompromised individuals. So whenever you see such a case, make sure you take a detailed medical history, check for certain conditions like HIV positive patients, ask if they are on certain medications like immunosuppressants, if they have undergone previous chemotherapies. So these are the things that we need to take into consideration when we see these cases. Coming on to the management, we need to do superficial debridement. That means irrigate the area with saline and try and remove the superficial pseudomembrane layers. Make sure that the bleeding is arrested, the area is clean. Administer the patient on certain antimicrobial mouthwashes or topical treatments, and always recall these patients to check for the progress. The next condition that we'll be talking about is acute herpetic gingivostomatitis. So it is an acute condition. It is caused due to the herpetic virus. It is condition which is associated with both the gingiva and as well as the mucosa, and there will be certain ulcerations seen on the skin as well. Now if we talk about the clinical features, these are mainly small ulcers with elevated borders. They are usually seen in younger age groups, and they are mainly associated with systemic factors like fever and lymphadenopathy. Now coming on to the management, it is very important to counsel these patients regarding the type of the disease and to reassure them that this disease is self-limiting, so it will subside within 7 to 10 days. The only thing which we need to do is to give symptomatic treatment. For example, give painkillers if there is pain, and if the patient is running fever, then put him on antipyretic drugs. But another point to keep in mind is to take a good medical history. If these patients suffering from the gingival stomatitis are already immunocompromised or are having certain underlying medical conditions, it is always good to take a second opinion and refer the patient to the hospital. Now coming on to the third condition, which are the miscellaneous conditions, and here we'll be majorly talking about injuries. So it can be either physical injury, it can be injury associated with thermal or chemical burns. So first let's talk about physical injury. So physical injury can be caused due to toothbrush trauma, or in children it can be caused due to the injury caused through nails or chewing on a pencil. So clinical features will mainly involve the presence of ulcers, there can be spontaneous bleeding in certain cases, and there can be areas of erosion. Now chemical burns on the other hand are caused due to caustic agents or even the oral bleaching agents. If they are leaked out of the tray, they can affect our gingiva and can cause chemical burns. So the clinical features of chemical burns involves the presence of ulcerations or erosions, but they can also take the form of macules and vesicles as well. The third type of injury are the thermal burns. Now, as the term suggests, because of the consumption of very hot food and beverages, these burns can be seen. The clinical features involves erythematous patches. Now these patches can be desquamated in certain cases, and they can also be associated with vesicles. Now coming on to the management, it is very important for us to correctly diagnose that what kind of injury it is. So ask for a detailed history of the trauma, and after that we need to make sure that there is elimination of the causative agent. So if it is a chemical burn because of the bleaching agent, then make sure that the bleaching agent is removed completely from the oral cavity, and ultimately it is symptomatic relief. So administer the patient on topical and systemic analgesics if required. So I hope this video was helpful to have a broad idea about periodontal emergencies and what we need to do in each situation. And if you like this video, please go and click the thumbs up button, subscribe to this channel, and do share this video with your colleagues as well. And until we meet next, take good care of yourself. This is Perio Hub signing off.